Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to make this very quick. This is going to be an insight into what it's like owning a small business. So let's get into it. This video is going to be cut into different sections. The first section is going to go slowly into an idea of a business and what you can do to make it into reality. The first thing I'm going to say is it's very, very important that you're passionate about your business. Obviously, it's one thing to be very inspired by all the people around you that have started their own business, but at the same time, it's not an overnight process. It does take a lot of research, it takes a lot of love, it takes a lot of care. It's basically like having a baby and watching it grow. In fact, let me start from the beginning. The day I realized I wanted my own business was when I was like 16, 18. The idea was very, very premature. It was just a thought, like in the future, I want to own my own business. I want to say is that it took a lot of time. And I started journaling things down and ideas down and stuff that I thought that would be long-term versus short-term. The first thing I thought about was, okay, what kind of business do I want to do? Do I want to do makeup? Do I want to do skincare? Do I want to do jewelry? I become very, very invested in my own ideas, if that makes sense. As soon as I thought of it, I was like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I need it to happen because it's the only thing I feel like I'll have control over. It'll be my own thing. I'll be so proud of it and it'll be something so cool to have, basically. But at the same time, I had no idea what I was doing. So it was just an idea. I just kept it at the back of my head until I finished my education. So my Instagram really started taking off. I started doing promotions with different brands and I had a little insight into how brands work and how they charge influencers and how it really like works for them and then works for me. So that helped me look at it from a customer influencer business perspective, if that makes sense. Straight away, I started researching. Now, researching doesn't happen overnight. It does happen over a long period of time. One of the ways you can research is listening to podcasts, watching a lot of videos like this video, reading books. And now there's obviously social media, there's like Twitter threads and there's like Instagram posts where you can really get into learning how to have your own business. I want to link a few people over here that you can check out who have helped me start my own business and who are very, very good and influential with their business advice. One of the people that I was watching and listening to was Patricia Bright with her Break platform on YouTube. She has a lot of amazing videos on how to start a business, on what it's like to own a small business, and also a lot of podcasts and a lot of videos with other small business owners and how they got to where they are now. So the first step is you need to make sure that you're very passionate. You need to make sure that you're obsessed, basically, and making it into something that is yours. Now, it won't work, I'll be honest. It won't work if you're really not sure what you want to do. I would say take as much time as you need to figure out everything and the plan and where you want to be in the next year or the next few months, what you want to see. Literally write it down, even if it's as small as, oh, I want to make my first sale. You know, write this kind of stuff down so at least you have a little checklist. Moving on to organization. Now, it takes a lot of organization, a lot of budgeting, a lot of figuring out where to go, what to do, who to talk to. I was very blessed with working with different brands and having friends who are already in different businesses, such as the food business, clothing business, hijab business. I had a lot of affiliates who I knew already started their business and I started asking them questions. I was like, oh, what is it like? A lot of people were very standoffish and I understand that because they want to protect their business. But at the same time, I wasn't really getting like a really thorough explanation of like what it is to own an actual business, the stress and everything. So the first thing is research. When it comes to researching for clothing, I would say, you know, watch documentaries, read up on successful brands, read their coming up story, just read how they became very, very successful, where they are now and how they're doing, how they managed to stay relevant. I know it sounds super shallow, but that is one of the ways that businesses work, is relevancy, basically finding out a need. So let's talk about the next part. So the next part is basically finding out your target audience. So now you've got the idea in your head, whether it's makeup, skincare, clothing, you've got a small idea. You're like, okay, I want to own this kind of business. You look at the target audience. Do you want to make clothes specifically for girls? Do you want to make clothes specifically for men? Do you want to make clothes for modest fashion? If you're a little bit unsteady on what you want to do, I would say definitely take a step back, look further into researching what you relate the most to, because authenticity is one of the most important things when it comes to a business. If you're going into a business that you're going to have to specialize in regardless, like say you want to own a makeup brand but you don't know anything about makeup, it's a bit silly. But I know a lot of people who have managed to like really start off and then they research later. I would say don't take that risk. definitely research into whatever you want to go into. So now you found your niche. We're going to go with the example of maybe making modest clothing. Now it's, okay, what are the steps that I'm going to do to get to where I need to? Let's talk money. How much you want to invest. I get a lot of questions of, Dina, like, how much should I budget? How much should I invest? How much did you invest? I agree, it's very, very private questions, but at the same time, it does help someone who's trying to start off. So I'm going to try my best to explain this as simply as possible. The budget and how much you invest is very, very dependent on you as a person. It's not just a specific amount. It's not like you put in, you know, $1,000 and then you get everything that you want. No, it's very, very specific to what you're doing. So say if it's like modest clothing, I need to think about, okay, am I going to be making the clothes myself, or am I going to be manufacturing it and getting ready-made items? Now you have to decide, is it going to be something that's custom, like me making necklaces by myself, or is it going to be something that's going to be manufactured, meaning that you have to go out there yourself and find the supplier who makes what you want to make and add your little twist to it. Let's go with manufacturers. I get a lot of questions with, oh, where do you find a supplier, manufacturers? Guys, I'll be honest, this comes with research. So if you've already passed the initial step, which is researching exactly what kind of brand you want to go into, automatically, I feel like you already know about the manufacturers that are out there and who will basically process the orders or the products for you, essentially. Such as if you're looking into makeup brands and you're watching documentaries on how they started up, you'll immediately see a trend of like how they got to know their manufacturers, how they got to get suppliers, whether it's lip gloss as well. Like a lot of people start at home. I know that for sure. I know a lot of people who are doing skincare, they start making something at home and then they later go on to finding a manufacturer and then giving them the ingredients and then they make it. Obviously, you have to also remember that manufacturers have a lot of cost. So a lot of people tend to go for the custom option, which is basically they get like the bits and bobs they need to make their business themselves. So let's go with the modest fashion example. Let's say a two-piece, you know, like just a top and a bottom, very, very plain. If you want to do it yourself, most likely you're going to have to think, okay, what fabric am I going to get? What color am I going to get? Who's going to stitch it for me? Am I going to go to a tailor? Where am I going to find the tailor? How much is it going to cost for me to get to the tailor? You know, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. This is more very, very specific to what you want to do. Obviously, it's very hard for me to just list what kind of questions you would ask yourself because it depends on the business. Like if you're doing menswear as well, what kind of tailor would you go to? What kind of fabric? Is it heavy duty fabric? Is it something that's really hard to stitch up? You know, it's kind of stuff like that. Whereas if you want to do something that's manufacturer based, most likely more on the expensive side, because most manufacturers have a minimum order quantity. So this is something that manufacturers set in place for them to make profit and to make sure that you order a specific amount. So the reason why they do put minimum order quantities is so like basically people don't take the mick, especially because there's a lot of room for people to just be like, oh, can I get 5 pieces? And then they just cut. Obviously, it's not fair on people who are starting off, but it is something to remember. A lot of manufacturers you can find online, people have different ways to find the perfect manufacturer that is for them. That's either by finding if they give a good price, etc., because at the same time, these manufacturers have massive machine that mass produce only, so they can't really make one item and that's it. If anything, they will ask you to pay for a sample item. So a sample item is most of the time a bit more expensive than just ordering like 100 of one item, but it is worth it because you might have something in your head, but say if you go to the manufacturer, they might make it into something else. So that's where the step comes in for detail. It's very, very important that you put details in with manufacturers or custom made orders. You make sure you have a blueprint essentially that anyone else can follow, because when you do start to blow up or when you do start to get really big and get a lot of more customers, it's going to be very difficult to do everything by yourself. So it's important that you keep a blueprint of everything that you do and you keep a folder of budget plans, how much you've spent, all the steps that you've done, because there will come a time where you want to go back and then see what you did and maybe try and recreate it again. So yeah, one of the best things that I did was make sure that I keep a copy of everything that I've done, whether it's very, very small, all the way down to my logo, because I found myself last week trying to look for a new logo design or something new that I could try out, and it was really cool to have my logos printed out and to be able to reference each and every one of them. So as soon as you have something in your mind, write it down and keep track of it. One of the main things is definitely overcompensating, being prepared. I think of everything that can basically go wrong. As ambitious as you should be when owning a business, I do make sure that I have a reality check with myself before I launch or every time I restock? Can my delivery people mess up again? Is there anything that's broken? Is there anything that's damaged? Is there any liabilities? So definitely overcompensate. It could be something as small as making sure that you have enough ink for printing out paper. But yeah, I'm aware for the community of small business owners who don't have a car or even a vehicle at hand, especially now during this pandemic. It's very, very hard to just take all your deliveries on a bus or a train. Another thing I would say, a big tip, is do everything that needs to be done at nighttime so you can be more productive of the day, especially if you're someone who sends out physical parcels and not a service, and you're not wasting your day doing things that you could have done in the nighttime, such as researching, or if you need to order more stock, I would definitely recommend doing that in the night. That helped me so much, especially when I found myself trying to print out receipts in the morning when I could have easily gone to the post office and sent out parcels for it to be delivered the next day. And that literally set me back 2 business days, and that set back the customer receiving their item. Obviously, it doesn't seem bad, but if you're someone who ordered something, you would expect it to be at your doorstep right away and with no delays. Okay, so I want to spend this part of the video answering most asked questions that you guys have sent in through Instagram accounts, the business account and my personal account. Someone asked me about promotions. So I have been lucky and blessed enough to not have to pay someone to do my promotions, as I have my own platform that I'm able to promote on, especially taking in the blessing being a big account as well and having a big reach with other people from all around the world. I feel like I'm blessed in that sense. I don't have to pay anyone for advertising, but I do believe that if it's someone that's just starting up a small business on Instagram, I would definitely say it is very beneficial to do promotions to get yourself out. Now, I've had a few friends who started off their business and they weren't social media influencers, and obviously they did not have a ready-made account for them to promote on, and it is a very, very popular method that is used by almost all businesses, if not just small businesses. So there was a moment, obviously my own friends were purchasing my products, which I still think is crazy to this day. I know a lot of people expect their friends to buy their products, especially with the target audience that I had. Most of them did not really suit criteria, so seeing them purchase things really made me happy. With PR especially, I believe it does take out a significant amount from your budget. I do understand it is very a risky thing to do, especially if you don't know the person that you're sending out the product to. You do sometimes hope for the best of them taking pictures or like doing something that you had in your head and them not going through with it. So with that, I would say make sure that you set up a contract, either through direct messages or emails. Make sure you set up a contract of when you want them to post, when you want them to open the products, how much you would pay them, etc, and that would remove any room for disappointment, basically. At the end of the day, it is a business proposal that you're having with someone else to promote your stuff, just as the same it is to do it on a billboard, just as the same it is to do it on a TV ad. So that is one way. Please keep in mind that social media isn't the only way that you can promote your products. One of the biggest tools I would say is, on Instagram, make sure you switch to a business account. You will definitely reap the benefits of Facebook ads, especially because Instagram really caters towards that, and they separate your DMs so that you can, from one folder called general, I'm going to try and put a video here, one folder called general and the other folder called primary, and all your requests, and it really helps you keep organized without you having to do anything. Another thing is the shopping feature. So say if someone comes onto your profile, you would obviously want them to know that you're selling items, and without them having to DM you and have to go on the website, Instagram /Facebook puts forward a really easy tool that everyone can access. It is the one where you have your 3 tabs, which is your tagged pictures, your normal feed, and in the middle it will be either IGTV or any filters you've made, if you've made any. A lot of people have stopped DMing me asking me about prices because I had put up the prices on each of the products I had uploaded. One thing to remember though is you can't do this on a private account. A business account has to be public. I am aware that you have to have an actual catalogue of products. So now, building on this, let's talk about how you can get your products out there. So that's the final step. Actually, I would say it's more of an initial step when you're planning. Now, at this current moment in time, it is very popular to have an e-commerce website, which means basically you have everything online, whether it's a service, whether it's clothes, whether it's whatever you're selling. A lot of people just do it online because of the pandemic. A lot of people are finding it easier to manage their business online rather than having it in stores or have to go out. But we do have to remember that there are some businesses who do have their actual physical shops open, getting customers in person. What kind of commercial route you're going to be taking? Will it be you doing everything online? If you are doing it online, what are you going to use? Are you going to make your own website? Who's going to help you design it? Can you design it yourself? Will you learn how to design it? I would say this is where you start bullet pointing and going through the different options of what you might want to do. But obviously now is the most important step, and that is deciding if that you're going to go for. Now I get a lot of questions about, did I make my own website? What did I do? What was the process? So for me, because I am a computer science student, so the first thing I did was I started researching different platforms that I could start selling my items on. And the first thing that crossed my mind was I can make my own website. I have been at university, even before university, I was able to make my own website. And even with back in the day, with Tumblr, a lot of people could edit their code. I was basically one of them. I would always edit my actual code, my HTML code, my JavaScript, so front end and back end coding. I feel like that was my big step into the coding world, whether it is something that's unpredicted. So my initial website was coded. However, I had issues with processing fees and for people to pay online. I had a very basic website at first, with literally just a HTML website, just a bit of front end coding to display all the products that I had, nothing that where you could actually make payments. So when it comes to that, it is very difficult to set up payments on a website. I feel like that is the most hardest thing ever to do. Recommend one of the best ways is Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, Etsy and Depop. I feel like those are very, very popular methods that people use. With Shopify and Wix and Squarespace, it is very straightforward. All you have to do is sign up. It is a monthly payment, so you do have to pay for a domain name. If you aren't aware of what a domain name is, get researching. But as far as I'm aware, Shopify makes it extremely easy for you. All you have to do is upload your pictures and then they handle the rest. But that comes at a fee and a cost. So you do have to be aware of that. You do have to be aware of monthly payments, direct debits, and that's where you start budgeting and putting it into your financial plan, trying to see, okay, can I pay for this? Can I pay £20, £30 a month just to hold my website? Will I make enough profit? Will my profit cover it? You have to really start asking yourself these questions. That's what I found myself asking. Eventually, obviously, I had to invest into a processing fee. That is basically the fee that the bank takes for processing payments. Even after all this, I think Etsy and Depop are a really good example. Depop, I believe, take 10% of whatever you make. So it is important for you to add on that 10% when you're selling the product so you can cover that fee. That could be anything from like £1 to, £10, £20, depending on how much your actual end product is. So you have to actually consider that. I'm not sure for Etsy. I've never used Etsy to sell items, so you might have to check with the terms and regulations for that one. But I am very sure of Depop because I've sold a few things there and they do take a cheeky little £2, £3 from any £20 that you've made. So another thing is, obviously, if you don't want to go, if you feel like, okay, this is too much, like I have to figure out a domain name, you have to buy your website name, like whatever name you want it from something like GoDaddy, and you pay for like I think a year. Some of them are like as cheap as 99p, but it does depend on what kind of website you want. Mine is dinara.shop. I wanted to get dinara.co.uk, but it did turn out to be a bit more expensive, so I just left it. I chose dinara.shop, and it is very simple. Simplicity is key here. You wouldn't want something that's a really, really long website that takes a lot of memory space. It is business at the end of the day. You would want someone to remember your website. I think the last final step would be what delivery service you're going to go for, whether it's Hermes, Royal Mail in the UK, or FedEx, or Parcel Force, or DHL abroad. You're going to have to decide who's going to do your deliveries for you. Because in the UK, as far as I'm aware, there are some delivery services who aren't particularly reliable, especially at this time due to delays and due to the virus. So yeah, this is a very long video, so I'm just going to cut it here. That was what it's like to own a small business and frequently asked questions. I'm going to try and add a few more bits here and there if I feel like it's missing anything. But I feel like I've covered most things. I hope this inspires you or helps anyone out there that wants to start their business. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.